Hello, Leo, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for being here today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of June 21st through the 27th. And during the week, we do have the solstice that happens on the 21st, so find a place to celebrate that if that's something that you're into, or just observe it in some way. Also, we have the first quarter moon that comes in on the 23rd, and that can feel a little bit like the full moon. It's just kind of a little disruptive either day or just a few hours where you might feel impulsive, impatient. Your mind might be a little bit active. It could be hard to just buckle down and get anything done. So pay attention to that. It's either a test for you to be in control and dominate your impulses, or it could just be a way to let's not do a whole lot that day, or just know that that's coming. We then, for the rest of the week, have the waxing gibbous energy, and that is it's a little better for concentration. Good time for us to act on those things that we started during the new moon, but show that you can be flexible and make adjustments where you need to. So please keep those moon energies in mind as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter, Leo. So, as always, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't here on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this particular reading is that you are good enough. I mean, interesting that a Leo needs to be reminded of that. Leos tend to be pretty confident, but hey, sometimes it happens. You are good enough. Sometimes you need that little extra boost, right? Even if you're a confident person. All right, as I'm shuffling the tarot, my fun weekly reminder this week is that you pay attention to, or I'm sorry, that you keep a spiritual journal, is what I was going to say. So, keeping a spiritual journal is you do have to pay attention to the things that are going on, things that you're learning, synchronicities that you're having. This could be dreams that you're having, and write those in a spiritual journal. It's just a really good way in the future for you to look back and kind of see where you've been or when you were learning things or having certain experiences and that sort of thing. So that is just my fun weekly reminder for you. It is a good little tool in your spiritual life, to pay attention to those things, and again, have them for a reference point later. Sometimes I'll look at mine and be like, oh, I remember that's when I learned that, it was maybe 3-4 years ago, and I've applied that, and look at the changes in my life. Or, oh, I was going to do this thing and I forgot. So sometimes that's, a good thing too. So that is my fun weekly reminder for you, is to keep a spiritual journal. All right, Leo, let's get into this reading. I will stop babbling. I swear. June 21st through the 27th, you are good enough. Your present energy right now is the Five of Swords. So maybe that's why you need a little bit of reminders, because there's maybe some sort of exchange of words going on with you and some other folks. Hold on, I feel a sneeze. And there was no way I'm stopping that. Excuse me for sneezing. What was I saying? Oh, so an exchange of words with you and others. This could be in your family. This could be in your friend group. This could be professionally. This could be just any time where you're working with another group of people. It looks like there's some sort of exchange that's going on, and maybe it needs to happen. Maybe that's why you are good enough. Maybe you need a little extra confidence boost to kind of hold your ground. If there's things that just need to be said, sometimes things do need to be said. Your current situation is the Six of Pentacles here. So, it could be, this is about giving and receiving. And have you been giving, receiving? This could be, sometimes these relationships are like this. I know this is a card of Pentacles, but sometimes giving and receiving has more to do with, the people around us and what we're giving in the way of, just conversation, being open about things, exchanges in that manner. So I feel like this is part of a big issue, is who's giving, who's receiving, what is that exchange of energy going on. And maybe there's some sort of something, maybe an imbalance that's going, and that's what's bringing up the conflict here. Okay, let's continue here. At the root of this situation is, it's the Three of Swords. It's something that's disappointing and heartbreaking, and it's something that's, it doesn't look like it's going to be fun to go through. With all these swords, a lot of times this is just, again, it's air energy, and I just feel like words are being thrown around. So, whatever this give and take is, again, you are good enough. Hold your ground, whatever your feelings are. I'm sure they're very valid. So you'd have to just hang on to that. Okay, in your recent past with this situation, well, you come into this with a strength card. So you come in with the strength of mind to know, and isn't that your card there, Leo? That's just knowing that you are strong enough to handle things, that you can, that this is inner and outer strength, that sometimes, again, sometimes it's things are uncomfortable, but the things do have to be said so that they can get out in the air and things can be worked out. So if that's the case, then just you just have to do what you have to do, right? What's on your mind this week is the Ace of Pentacles. So this would be a new opportunity in the way of, typically, again, it is Pentacles, but I feel like if this exchange brings you to some new opportunity, usually this can be a financial opportunity, but like I said, sometimes when it's pentacles, it's just indicative of other things as well. It doesn't always have to be financial or all about money. Sometimes it is about personalities and things, but this could just indicate that whatever the situation is, it might be something work related or something that you do make money, maybe like a side gig that you make money on, or something that there is an exchange and something needs to be straightened out so that that flow can just start again. What is just ahead of you this week is more swords with moving into the future, and a calm future with the six here, moving in moving in a calm manner, maybe because you get the situation worked out and things just work out that way. Again, now we have two sixes on the table, so that's where we're watching in our spiritual journal for those little synchronistic things, the 66 angel number. Go find the meaning to that, write that down in your journal when it has to do with the situation. You'll find that many of these things, are very interesting, how they pop up, those little synchronicities to kind of guide you and help you with whatever this conflict is that you're going through right now. In your advice position is the moon card. So the advice is to use your intuition, to use those things that come to you, those dreams that you're having, those feelings that you're having, like you kind of know the answer. You already know the answer to this situation. And the advice is to go ahead and make sure that you are use that intuition, using those dreams, those feelings that you're having, because they're important. These are the instincts that you have. And if you're fighting against those instincts, sometimes, if yeah, this is usually a card that you're dealing with others, but also just fighting against yourself, like fighting against doing the thing that you need to do, maybe because it's uncomfortable. But look, you're strong enough, you are good enough. You might not want to go through this brokenhearted thing with the three, but sometimes you just have to rip the band-aid, right? Sometimes you need to change things for the better. So remember, you are good enough. And if you're good enough, then things should be working out in your favor. If there's something bucking up against that, then you're going to have to make some changes. All right, what is beyond your control, Leo, is the Page of Swords. So this is communicating in a new manner. It's beyond your control, and it might be something that you're just not used to doing, saying certain things or communicating in a particular way, but it's beyond your control this week. You're going to have to do it. What is your secret desire, or what are you trying to avoid? And it is the Hermit card. So the Hermit card is about inner searching. Sometimes it is about solitude and just kind of quietly getting to that place where you know what the answers are. It's maybe coming to your own conclusions if this is a group that you're working with. I mean, I do see other people in these cards. If there's other people that you're working with, sometimes you just have to go within and decide on your own, where it is that you stand exactly. You may be in agreement with others, you may not, but you have to kind of come to that conclusion on your own. And sometimes that just takes a little bit of quiet time. The hermit is about just going within very quietly. I always like to mention that his lantern isn't lighting up the whole world, it's just lighting up his next step. So maybe you need to just take that time to decide, what is the next step? What is my next step? So that is either your secret desire, or you're just trying to avoid that altogether. If you're trying to avoid this, I feel like it's going to come up again. When you have situations that you don't take care of and don't resolve, it's going to come up again, 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 over and over. That's what life is until you learn how to manage it. So if you're learning how to manage this on a small scale, usually sometimes it'll come up on a bigger scale. And now you've got the experience at your back to know how to manage it. All right, what is in your outcome position is the Justice card. So truth will always rise to the top. Truth will come out of the end of this, and it's going to be justice, right? Sometimes this is just bringing things back into order and fairness and equilibrium. So um think about what that is for you. You're going to have to look at this hermit card. Some of you will choose this differently. Some of you will say, okay, I'm going to decide my next step and I'm going to take it. Some of you don't want to yet. Again, whatever it is, you are good enough. So just you have to decide where it is you're going to go on all of this. I feel like, again, if you make that decision, to do something about it, it's just it will fix some things you might have to, and you're not going to have to deal with it. I feel like if it's recurring, and I do get the feeling this is something that is recurring for some reason. Some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about, but you're going to have to communicate something in a new manner. Use your intuition and just get to the truth and at least get it out on the table. All right, what is hidden from you here at the bottom of the deck? Well, what's hidden is the 10 of Swords, which is about being done with something. So maybe you're just not quite done. Maybe you're going to address it to try to make it better. And maybe being done is a little easier said than done. That could be the case. And when you're dealing with people, I know that can be a stickler. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. I understand that, but again, see what you can do to make the problem, at least get the truths out on the table so that you can manage things a little better. All right, let's get a final message here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final message here for Leo. And the card that you get is to nurture yourself first. That's very much the Hermit card. And really nurturing yourself by just knowing what it is that you want. Again, if you're dealing with other people, which it does appear that you are, what exactly is it that you want? And make sure that you at least say that. And I don't think there's a problem. Again, you are good enough. If you need that little confidence boost, speak up and say the thing that you want. That's what that's about. Just be confident. All right, let's see what you need to do in the way of self-care. Self-care for Leo this week. And the card that you get is time. Time spent worrying is time spent. So I think you need to take the action, stop worrying about it. You're not quite done yet, but you're at least trying to work those things out. So figure out what it is that you want. Know that you're strong enough, know that you're good enough to move this thing into the right direction. That's what it's really all about this week for you, Leo. So Leo, thank you so much for being here. I do hope there's something in this reading that you can take away and use in a positive way in your life this week. If you're comfortable sharing, drop me a comment down below and let me know if any of this resonated, or if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And if you like my reading style, hitting like and subscribe is super nice of you. So thank you in advance for doing that. And it helps you find me next week. So come on back next week and let's see where your story goes. So thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.